When I told my dad I got the job I'd worked my whole life for, he didn't even congratulate me. He just asked, "So how much are you sending us every month?" That's when I realized to him, my success was never mine. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. I'm Lena Quinn, 29 years old. I just landed a job at a biotech company in Seattle, $400,000 a year, a number I used to dream about when I was pulling double shifts in college just to pay rent. I thought my parents would be proud. They'd watch me study late nights, eat instant noodles for weeks, and cry when my student loans piled up. I thought this news would make them smile. When I called them, my mom answered first. "Oh, that's great, honey," she said flatly, like I'd just told her I got a free coffee. Then my dad took the phone. "For 100,000, huh?" he said slowly. "So, what's fair, 50% for us, 30 for your sister?" I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Very funny, Dad." But he didn't laugh. "I'm serious. We sacrificed a lot for you. You wouldn't have that job without us. It's time you give back." My stomach turned cold. 50%? That's not giving back, that's fair. He cut me off. "You owe your family, Lena. Don't forget where you came from," my mom murmured in the background. "Your sister's been waiting to go back to school. Maybe you can help her." My sister Tara, the golden child. She never finished anything she started. Jobs, college, relationships. She was always figuring herself out, while I was figuring out how to keep us from losing the house. I tried to change the subject, but Dad kept going. "You're single, no kids. You don't need all that money. You'll send it to us, and we'll take care of the rest." Something inside me snapped, but I swallowed it. I didn't want to start a fight. "Let's talk about it later, okay?" He grunted. "Just don't get greedy, Lena. Family comes first." When the call ended, I sat in my small apartment staring at my phone. My hands were shaking. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I felt like I'd just stepped into a trap. That night, Tara texted me, "He's right, you owe them. They worked hard for you." I stared at her message until the screen dimmed. It hit me then. My family didn't see my success as something to celebrate. They saw it as a paycheck. My paycheck. I closed my laptop, sat in the dark, and whispered to myself, "It's my life. My money. My turn." But even as I said it, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Because my dad? He never asked. He demanded. When I pulled into my parents' driveway that weekend, I tried to convince myself it would be fine. I even stopped for a cake on the way, thinking maybe we'd sit together, laugh, and celebrate. But the second I walked in, I knew something was off. The house felt tense, quiet in that way where everyone's pretending not to be angry. My mom was in the kitchen, setting plates like she was preparing for guests, but there were only 4 of us. "You made it," she said without looking up. My dad was at the table with papers spread out in front of him. Tara lounged on the couch, scrolling on her phone, smirking like she knew something I didn't. "Sit down, Lena," my dad said. His tone wasn't warm. It was the same voice he used when he wanted obedience. I put the cake down and tried to smile. I thought we were celebrating. He slid a stack of papers toward me. "We are. This is just to make sure things are clear between us." I stared at the pages. It was some kind of agreement, typed, printed, even signed by him already. "What is this?" He leaned back, crossing his arms. "It's simple. You'll transfer part of your income to us every month, just so there are no misunderstandings later." I blinked. "You actually wrote it down?" "Of course," he said. "You're making more than any of us ever have. It's only fair that you help the family. We sacrificed everything for you." My mom nodded quietly beside him, eyes down. "You wouldn't have gotten that degree without us, honey." Tara snorted from the couch. "Don't act shocked. You're rich now, Lena. This is what responsible people do. Share." Something inside me twisted. "I already said I'd help when I can," I replied carefully. Dad's expression hardened. "No, this isn't about when you can. It's about consistency. You need to commit. Family deserves stability too." I wanted to tell him how absurd it sounded, how wrong it was, but the words got stuck in my throat. He'd made up his mind. I looked to my mom, hoping for some hint of softness, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Tara grinned like she was enjoying every second. Dad pushed a pen toward me. "Sign it, and we can have dinner like a normal family." The silence stretched. My hands felt heavy, my pulse loud in my ears. I could walk out, I thought. Just leave. But the idea of another screaming match made my stomach clench. I took the pen. My signature came out shaky. Dad smiled for the first time that evening. "See, that wasn't so hard," Tara muttered. "Guess she's finally learning to be generous." I forced a smile and said nothing. Dinner was cold and quiet. No one touched the cake. When I finally left that night, the papers were folded in Dad's hands, safe like a prize. I drove away feeling like I'd traded something invisible but precious. Not money, something deeper. Something I might never get back. The first few months at the new job should have felt like victory, but they didn't. Every payday came and went, the money gone before I could even see it. The automatic transfers my dad insisted on drained my account faster than I could breathe. Each time I opened my banking app, the numbers looked smaller, emptier. I was earning more than anyone I knew, yet somehow I felt poorer than ever. At first, I told myself it was temporary, that once they saw I was doing well, they'd ease up. But they never did. They called like clockwork every week, checking if the transfer went through, asking about bonuses, hinting at new expenses. My dad's tone wasn't grateful. It was businesslike, expectant, like I was late on rent. One Friday night, after another long week, I hesitated before sending the transfer. I'd had unexpected bills that month: car repair, rent, groceries I couldn't ignore. I thought one late payment wouldn't matter. I was wrong. The next morning, there was a loud knock at my door. It wasn't a neighbor. My stomach dropped when I saw my dad standing there, jaw tight, coat still buttoned. "You think I wouldn't notice?" he said as soon as I opened the door. "Dad, it's been one day. Don't you dare start with excuses," he snapped. "You think I raised a liar? You made a promise. You signed it." I stepped back, trying to stay calm. "I'm not lying. I just needed a little time." He moved past me into the apartment, scanning the room like he owned it. "Looks like you've got plenty of time to decorate and waste money on nonsense, but not enough to take care of your family." My voice shook. "It's my money, Dad." He turned, eyes narrowing. "Not when it came from what we gave you." Before I could answer, he stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell from the wall. I stood there frozen, heart pounding, the echo still vibrating in the air. That night, I told Evan everything. He listened quietly, his hand on mine. "Lena," he said softly, "this isn't normal. They're controlling you. You need to stop sending money." I shook my head. "You don't understand. If I stop, they'll cut me off completely. My mom won't even speak to me." "Then maybe that's not such a bad thing," he said, but his voice was careful, like he knew how deep this ran. After he left, I sat alone for a long time. The apartment was quiet, but my mind wasn't. I took my phone, opened the recorder, and whispered to myself, "Next time he shows up, I'll have proof." The next day, I set my phone near the door. Every sound made me flinch. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was alert, waiting, watching. The man who'd once taught me how to ride a bike was now someone I had to protect myself from. The email about my work bonus came on a Tuesday morning. $80,000. My first thought was relief. Maybe I could finally breathe, finally save something for myself. I didn't tell anyone at first, but somehow, my dad found out within days. His call came that evening, his voice calm in that way that always meant trouble. "So, I heard about your bonus," he said. "That's great news. You can help us fix the roof, and maybe redo the kitchen while we're at it." I went silent for a few seconds. "Dad, I just got that money. I need to handle a few things first." He laughed, short and dry. "Handle what? You don't have a family to feed. You owe it to us, Lena. The house is falling apart. You're going to send the money." My hands tightened around the phone. "No, I'm not. That's not what this bonus is for." His tone shifted, sharp and heavy. "You're being ungrateful. Don't forget who gave you everything. You wouldn't even have that job without me pushing you all those years." "I earned it," I said quietly, but he was already yelling, saying things that felt like knives. I hung up before he could finish. The next day, Tara called. Her voice was sweet at first, too sweet. "Dad told me you're keeping all that money. Is that true?" I sighed. "It's my bonus, Tara. I've been paying you and them for months. I can't keep doing it." "You've changed," she snapped. "You act like you're better than everyone. I'll make sure the family knows how selfish you really are." I didn't respond, but she meant it. Within hours, my phone buzzed nonstop. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years were texting, saying I should be ashamed, that family comes before greed. Someone had told them everything, my salary, my bonus, even what I'd spent on furniture. Tara made sure I looked like the villain. When my mother called that night, I answered, hoping she'd be different. Her voice was cold. "Your father's hurt, Lena. You embarrassed him. We should have invested in Tara instead. At least she's loyal." Those words hit harder than anything my dad had said. Loyal. That was what they wanted, blind loyalty. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone still in my hand, staring at the wall as the words echoed in my head. After she hung up, the apartment felt smaller, quieter. Something inside me cracked wide open. For years, I'd bent myself into whatever shape they wanted. The good daughter, the provider, the one who never said no. But that night, sitting in that silence, something shifted. I opened my laptop, started a new folder, and labeled it with one word: plan. If they wanted a loyal daughter, they should have treated me like one. They'd taken enough, and I was done paying. The next morning, I woke up with a strange calm. Not peace, just clarity. I'd spent years reacting, explaining, defending. This time, I wouldn't say a word. I'd act. I took the day off work and found a law office downtown. The attorney was a woman around my age, sharp-eyed and direct. She listened as I explained everything. How my father made me sign papers, how he took control of my pay, how every fight ended with guilt and threats. When I slid the signed agreement across the desk, she scanned it, then looked up at me. "This isn't legally binding," she said. "You can stop payments today if you want." A wave of relief and anger mixed in my chest. "I just need proof," I said. "I want it documented that they coerced me." She nodded. "Then we'll file it. Quietly. Keep records of everything, texts, emails, transfers. Don't confront them yet." I thanked her, feeling lighter as I stepped outside. The sky was gray, the city buzzing, but for the first time in months, I could breathe without fear pressing on my ribs. That evening, I opened a new bank account under my name only. I changed my direct deposit at work, making sure nothing linked back to the old account. Then I moved just enough money to keep my father from noticing. Small amounts, spaced out, deliberate. Every click of the keyboard felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I started sleeping better, but I didn't relax. This wasn't freedom, it was preparation. I knew he'd come looking when the numbers changed. I needed a safety net before that day came. At work, I mentioned to a colleague that I was interested in side consulting. Within a week, I got my first small offer, a research analysis project for a medical startup. I didn't use my real name. I registered under L, Quinn Consulting, a shadow version of myself, invisible to anyone who might go digging. Nights became quiet routines. I'd sit at my kitchen table, laptop glowing, balancing spreadsheets and writing reports. No music, no calls, just the steady rhythm of typing and the hum of the refrigerator. It felt secret, almost sacred. Every dollar I earned there went straight into the new account, untouched, waiting. Weeks passed like that. My parents still called, still demanded, but I gave them short answers. I was careful not to sound distant, just busy. I sent smaller amounts, less often, blaming work deductions and changes in payroll. Dad grumbled, but he didn't push yet. The plan wasn't loud or dramatic. It was built from patience, from silence. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to their demands. I was moving ahead of them. I didn't know exactly what I'd do next, but I knew one thing for sure. The next time my father came looking for control, he'd find nothing left to take. It started with missed calls. First my mom, then my dad, one after another, filling my voicemail with messages that shifted from polite to furious. I ignored them. I'd rerouted everything, new account, new plan, and for the first time I didn't send a dime. By the end of the week, the messages turned into warnings. "You're pushing it, Lena," my dad said in one. "Don't make me come down there." He meant it literally. 2 days later, I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed with a text from the front desk. "Your parents are here asking for..." My stomach dropped. I excused myself, hoping it was a misunderstanding, but when I stepped into the lobby, there they were, Frank standing tall with that familiar scowl, Marla beside him wringing her hand. "Dad, you can't just show up here," I whispered. He raised his voice immediately. "You think you can ignore us? You think we wouldn't find out what you're doing?" People stopped walking. Heads turned. I felt the heat rise in my face. "This isn't the place," I said quietly, trying to guide them toward the exit. Mom spoke up, her voice shaking. "We're not leaving until you explain why you've stopped helping your family. Do you know what people are saying about us?" I could feel my co-workers watching through the glass doors. My dad stepped closer. "You're embarrassing yourself," I hissed. "No," he said loudly. "You embarrassed us. We raised you, we supported you, and now you're too good for your own blood." Before I could answer, security appeared, followed by my HR manager, Susan. She stepped between us. "Sir, ma'am, you need to leave. This is private property." Dad pointed at me. "She's stealing from her family. She's a liar." Susan's expression hardened. "You need to leave now." It took 2 guards to usher them out, my mom apologizing under her breath while my dad cursed at the whole office went silent. When I finally walked back to my desk, every eye followed me. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. An hour later, he called again. I didn't answer. The voicemail came a minute later. "You think you can humiliate me in front of strangers? I'll ruin you, Lena. Everyone will know what kind of person you really are." I saved the message. Then I opened a folder on my computer labeled personal. Inside were weeks of evidence, screenshots, texts, emails, even the recordings I'd started keeping after his last outburst. Every word, every threat, every manipulation. I played the voicemail once more, not out of fear, but to remember the tone, the certainty, the way he thought I'd always fold. Then I hit save and whispered to myself, "Keep talking, Dad." He didn't know it yet, but every word he spoke was another brick in the wall I was building against him. The morning after the office incident, I walked into my lawyer's building with a flash drive in my... It held everything, recordings, messages, the contract he'd forced me to sign, every piece of proof I'd collected over the past few months. My hands trembled, but not from fear anymore, from resolve. My lawyer greeted me with a small nod. "You ready to move forward?" she asked. Yes, I said. Completely. We spent hours reviewing the evidence. Each recording told the same story: his anger, the threats, the control. When she finished listening, she looked up at me with a steady expression. This is enough. We'll file for a restraining order immediately, and I'll forward the documentation to your company's legal department. They should know what's happening. By the time I returned to the office, the HR director and the company attorney were waiting. Instead of the pity I feared, I saw quiet support. We're behind you, the attorney said. We'll handle any contact attempts. If he shows up again, call us before the police. The relief hit hard, almost dizzying. For the first time, I wasn't standing alone. That evening, I turned off my phone and tried to rest. But a few hours later, it buzzed nonstop. Unknown number. I didn't want to answer, but something in me said I should. It was Tara. Her voice was soft, almost pleading. Lena, please stop this. Dad's scared. He didn't mean what he said. I stayed silent for a beat. He showed up at my job, Tara. He screamed in front of everyone. He threatened me. I know, she said quickly, but he's sorry. He's under a lot of pressure. The bank's been calling nonstop. I froze. The bank. Her silence told me everything. I took a breath. Tara, did you know he forged my name for another loan? The line went completely quiet. Answer me, I said. You knew, didn't you? A faint exhale came through the receiver, then the click of the call ending. I stared at the phone in my hand, waiting for it to ring again. It didn't. The room was silent except for the low hum of the air conditioner. That silence said more than any confession ever could. I opened my laptop and added the loan documents to the evidence folder. My lawyer would need them. Everything I'd feared about my family was true. It wasn't just about money. It was about control, about ownership, about using me until there was nothing left to take. That night, I sat by the window watching the city lights flicker in the distance. For the first time, I didn't feel trapped by them. I felt awake. The mask was gone. Whatever came next, it would be on my terms, not theirs. The call from my lawyer came early one morning while I was getting ready for work. Her voice was calm, almost careful. The bank responded, she said. The investigation's open. All related accounts are frozen until further notice. I didn't say anything for a few seconds. I just stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, toothbrush still in hand. So, it's really happening, I finally said. Yes, she replied. And it's going to move fast. Within days, the ripple hit. My father's name was flagged across multiple loans, and my mother's joint accounts went with. Payments bounced. Their credit line vanished overnight. The house that had always stood like a symbol of pride on our street was suddenly plastered with foreclosure notices. Neighbors noticed. They always do. The whispers started small. A friend from high school messaged me, asking if it was true that my parents were being investigated. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The truth had already found its own way out. By the end of the week, my phone was full of half apologies and half accusations from relatives who once believed every word my father said. They wanted explanations, but I gave none. I'd spent my entire life explaining. Now I chose silence. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the buildings, there was a knock at my door. I hesitated before opening it. When I did, Tara stood there, hair messy, eyes red from crying. She looked smaller somehow, like the weight of everything had finally settled on her. You destroyed us, she said the moment our eyes met. Her voice cracked halfway through the words. I didn't move. What do you want me to say? You could have stopped it, she whispered. You didn't have to drag everyone down. I stepped aside just enough for her to see the packed boxes by the wall, my life moving forward while theirs was falling apart. I didn't drag anyone, I said quietly. I just stopped carrying you. Tara's face twisted in anger. We're family. I met her eyes. Family doesn't steal, Tara. Family doesn't sign someone's name on debt they didn't make. She swallowed hard, blinking fast. Dad didn't mean to. Don't. I cut her off. My voice stayed even. You did this the day you saw me as a paycheck. She didn't speak after that. She just stood there for a moment, tears streaking down her cheeks, then turned and walked down the hall without looking back. When the door clicked shut, I leaned against it and let the quiet settle. There was no victory in it, no satisfaction. Just stillness. Outside, the city moved on, cars passing, voices fading. But for me, it felt like the noise had finally stopped. The Quinn family's name, once something I was expected to honor, was now something I could finally let go of. Months passed before I realized I hadn't checked my old voicemail in weeks. The silence was strange but peaceful. I'd moved into a small house just outside the city, a quiet street lined with oak trees and mailboxes that leaned a little to one side. The first night there, I slept without dreaming. No late-night calls, no pounding on the door, no guilt dragging me awake. The legal process had finally ended. My lawyer called to confirm it. All accounts separated, all documents cleared. No more obligations. No more hidden debts waiting to pull me back. When I hung up, I sat on the floor of my empty living room and let the stillness wrap around me. It wasn't joy, exactly. It was relief, the kind that settles deep and doesn't need to be loud. Still, some days the guilt would return, quiet but steady. I'd see something small, a family eating together in a diner, a daughter hugging her mother, and my chest would tighten. I told myself I'd done what was necessary, but the truth was messier. Part of me still wished things could have been different. One rainy afternoon, I sat at my new desk and started writing. Not an email, not a report, a letter. I wrote to my mother, not to accuse or defend, but to explain. I told her I never wanted war, that I just wanted to be seen as more than a source of money. I wrote about the house, the peace, the distance. About how I still missed her voice even after everything. By the time I finished, the page was spotted with tears I hadn't noticed falling. I folded the letter, sealed it, then placed it in a drawer. It's still there, unsent. Evan came over that evening carrying takeout and a grin. He'd been patient through all of it, through my silence, my anger, my rebuilding. We sat on the porch, eating fries straight from the bag, the air smelling like wet pavement. When he reached into his pocket, I thought he was pulling out a receipt. Instead, it was a small velvet box. "Lena," he said softly, "you've spent your whole life giving everything to people who only took. Let someone give something back." I couldn't speak for a moment. Then I nodded, and he slipped the ring on my finger. Simple, silver, exactly right. Later that night, I stood by the window watching the rain streak down the glass. The world outside was calm, almost unfamiliar. I was free, but freedom didn't erase the past. It only made space for something new. The scars were still there, invisible but real. They'd stay, I knew that. But as I turned off the light and felt Evan's hand find mine in the dark, I realized something I hadn't felt in years. The pain no longer defined me. It was part of me, yes, but it wasn't all I was anymore. The call came late in the evening, just as the sun was fading behind the houses across the street. A nurse's voice, calm and professional, said my father's name. For a moment I didn't recognize. Then the words followed. "He's not doing well. You might want to come." I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the silence that came after. There was no rush of panic, no tears, just a quiet ache that spread through my chest. After everything, I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. The next morning, I drove to the hospital. The halls smelled like antiseptic and old coffee. Machines beeped softly somewhere down the corridor. When I reached his room, the sight of him stopped me. The man who once filled every space with his voice now looked small against the white sheets. His skin was pale, his eyes dim, his hands trembling slightly as he tried to adjust the blanket. He noticed me standing by the door. "So," he muttered, voice rough, "you finally decided to show up." I walked closer but didn't sit. "They said you weren't doing well," I said quietly. He gave a weak laugh that turned into a cough. "You don't have to pretend you care. You made your choice. You turned your back on family." The words hung heavy between us. Once they would have cut deep, but now they sounded empty, stripped of power. I met his eyes and spoke softly, steady. Family turned its back first. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The steady rhythm of the heart monitor filled the silence. He looked away, jaw tightening like he wanted to argue but couldn't find the strength. I watched him reach for a cup of water, his hand shaking too much to lift it. I almost stepped forward, but stopped. There was nothing left to fix. After a few minutes, I turned toward the door. His voice followed, weak but sharp. "You think walking away makes you strong?" I paused, hand on the doorframe. "No," I said. "It makes me free." The hallway outside felt colder than the room, but lighter somehow. I walked slowly, my footsteps soft against the linoleum floor. No one stopped me. No one called after me. Outside, the sky was gray, the air thick with the smell of rain. I sat in my car for a long time before starting the engine. The hospital lights glowed behind me like faint stars through fog. I didn't look back. As I drove home, the road stretched out empty and quiet. The past was still there, burned, broken, unchangeable, but for the first time, it wasn't chasing me. The freedom I felt wasn't joy, not even peace. It was something sharper, cleaner. The kind that only comes after everything has burned down and you're the only one left standing in the ashes. Hey besties. Thanks for staying with me till the end of this wild journey. Imagine working your whole life for success, only for your own family to treat you like their personal bank. Painful, right? But sometimes walking away isn't cruel, it's survival. If this story hit you hard, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories. See you in the next one. Bye!